Hi, how you going? Today we're talking about Dragon's Dogma 2 patch number 4. It's a new patch and it's applied to PlayStation 5, Xbox Series S and X and Steam users. It's a pretty hefty patch, especially if you compare it to the previous ones, and I'd like to discuss it in this video. It's a quick overview to show you what's been changed, and everything I say in this video comes from a place of passion because I'm one of those people who, even 1 month after launch and 200 plus what hours in, I'm still playing Dragon's Dogma 2. I'm still enjoying the game. That's why I'm making this video, really. I really do care about even the slightest changes. So let's go and have a look. Right, so here's the patch. 25th of April 2024. As you can see, it's pretty big. It's much bigger than the previous one that got a lot of people super mad because of how vague it was. Miscellaneous bug fixes. This one also has miscellaneous bug fixes, but it also has some other things to offer, so I guess it's a step in the right direction. Let's take a closer look. The first one is in regards to Dragonsplague, reducing the infection frequency of Dragonsplague and adjusting the signs of pawns infected with Dragonsplague to be more noticeable. For example, when infected, glowing eyes will be more noticeable. I think it's a good change, but it only caters to newcomers, really, because I think most of the people who are still playing Dragon's Dogma 2 are the ones who stayed, who are playing since launch and they're on their second, third, fourth playthrough. They don't care about Dragonsplague anymore. It's not scary to them. It doesn't make them paranoid, and they probably have a shit ton of Eternal Wake stones. So, like myself included, I have 7 sitting in my bank, and whenever my pawn nukes my Vernworth, I just resurrect everyone and move on. But the first one really works great with the second one, adding the option to zoom in on the faces of the Arisen and pawns in the status screen, shops, etc. So before you couldn't do it, now you can do it, and it's really easy to see if your pawn is infected. Before the patch, however, to see if your pawn is infected, you had to open photo mode, then zoom in on their face and reduce brightness all the way to the left to see if their eyes are glowing. So now you don't have to use this crutch. But again, Dragonsplague is only scary if you're going in blind, it's your first playthrough, you're not reading about it. Later on it becomes very trivial, especially when you get your hands on an Eternal Wake Stone. By the way, if you are in need of an Eternal Wake Stone and are on PC, drop your pawn ID in the comments, I will gift you one, because Ibrahim was my best friend in one of the playthroughs. He was even in the cutscene standing by the ocean. It was ridiculous. Anyways, let's move to the next one. Fixing some issues and implementing adjustments related to a minimap. Treasure chests that have already been acquired won't be displayed on a minimap. This is a very good one. Before, it was extremely annoying when a pawn would offer to guide you to a treasure chest and then bring you to a one you've already opened, like earlier or even in the previous new game iteration. That doesn't happen anymore, and it's very good. Next up, we have adjustments to pawns' behavior and dialogue. Fixing issues where occasionally the player couldn't high-five pawns. It used to happen a lot, a pawn would just stand there with their hand extended waiting for that juicy high-five, and then you come up to them and nothing happens. I guess it was because they were trying to high-five different pawns, I don't know, but it looks like it's been fixed. I mean, I played for like 3 to 4 hours after the patch and never had any issues with that. So every time I see them standing there hanging, I always come up to them because I like this feature a lot. And it looks like it works now. Fixed issues where pawns wouldn't start guiding after offering to guide. That, used to happen a lot too, especially when they're guiding you somewhere and then an encounter happens, and then after the fight they kind of forget that they were guiding you somewhere. So yep, I tested it as well and it looks like it's been fixed. Next up, making pawns less likely to fall off cliffs. I don't know. I mean, they still do fall off cliffs quite often. They come up to the edge and then just do this weird pawn dance and then fall to their death. So I don't know, it needs to be further tested, but as far as I can see, it's just pretty much the same. I don't know. Next up, reducing the frequency of some pawn dialogue lines. Again, man, I don't know. They still talk about ladders. They still talk about combining materials that result in different creations. So I guess I need to play more to see if it's really changed. Improving pawn lines to better match circumstances. Again, I don't know. I haven't noticed any changes so far. Next up, fixed some issues where pawns stop speaking outside combat. Never happened to me, never occurred. But if there was an issue, it's good that it's fixed now, I guess. Fixed some issues where the main pawn speaks support pawn's dialogue. That, happened to me once or twice, especially if you're doing a quest with two different outcomes. You pick an outcome and your pawn says something like, oh, my master did it differently. You're like, shut up, I'm your master, what are you talking about? I don't know, it needs to be further tested as well. The next one is making pawns more likely to aid the Arisen if the Arisen commands them to help while being held by enemies. I don't know, I never had any problems with that. Sometimes, I guess it depends on a pawn and their inclination, because sometimes when you're grabbed by a wolf and just brought somewhere like super far away, and then you start spamming help, a kind-hearted healer pawn comes up to you saying like, hey master, let me help, let me heal you, and you're just being fucking torn apart by wolves, and this pawn is just standing there healing you, and your health bar is like very indecisive. Usually when I have a decent pawn, an archer or a fighter, and when I press help, they come up to me straight away and help me out. So I don't know, I have nothing to say about this one. Reducing the frequency of pawns offering to be hired by the player, like this one, I just don't get it, man. Why is it in the game? I don't know. There should be a toggle for it. In my opinion, it's a dumb design choice. It's very baffling. Why would I want to hire a pawn in the field if I have a full party? I don't know. Look, I shouldn't be complaining because I'm a PC player and I have a mod that just turns it off completely. I installed it as soon as I found it and I never looked back. It doesn't, ruin your immersion. It just makes the game better. I don't know why this thing is in the game. So I turned the mod off just to see. They still come up to you, and most of the time they come up to you at the most inconvenient time. For example, if you're standing there somewhere, just, I don't know, counting rabbits, and they come up to you like, hey, master, by the way, do you want to hang out? And you're like, no. And then you bribe them. It's fine. But if you're like going somewhere, you see a chest, and then you're running towards this chest, and they just come up to you and like, hey, hold on a second. I don't know. Very bad mechanic. And the last 4 pieces, fixed issues where sometimes escort quests are considered failed when accessing character edit or other specific situations. Never occurred, never happened to me, so I don't know. I mean, I guess it's good that it's fixed. The next one is fixed issues where the player could be jailed while fighting monsters in town. That happened to me once. I was fighting a Cyclops in Vernworth, and I got jailed for it. It's very annoying, and I'm glad that it's fixed. And the last 2 are very vague, fixed some crashes and freezes in specific circumstances, and my favorite, miscellaneous bug fixes. I don't know what that means, but I haven't experienced a lot of bugs in Dragon's Dogma 2, to be honest. So, is it the best patch in the world? No. Is it better than it was? Absolutely, it's much better than it was, and I wish that Capcom would pick it up from here and start releasing more meaningful patches and finally concentrate on something that should be their #1 priority, which is performance. I'm pretty sure it's their #1 priority, but they're not talking about it a lot, and it makes a lot of people very upset. I think a little more transparency will help a lot and calm people down. If you're playing on PC, I strongly recommend using lossless scaling. It's an app that you can purchase on Steam, and it helps a lot with frame rates. It doesn't actually boost your frame rate, it uses frame generation, but it makes it look like your FPS is higher. It introduces some graphical artifacts. I think it's different, depending on your graphics card, your GPU, but it's been a massive help, and I'm using it all the time when playing Dragon's Dogma 2. So the link will be in the description. Check it out if you want. And that's about it for today. Thank you very much for watching.